And we are live. We have a special live tonight, ladies and gentlemen. This is the origins of what I would say Vander Ranch. I bet you Midland College is happy I'm off their case. The city of Midland's kind of happy too. Now I'm on your case, Vander Ranch. Christy, what's up?
Hey, Nino. So we've got somebody that is uh really special guest that can give a lot of back history of Greenwood, of Vander Ranch. And it's just kind of like we talked about yesterday. The more we dig, the more we're going to find. And this being literally multi-tiered, that we're gonna be exposing
Man,
people for illegal activities, for moral and ethical violations, I guess is the best word.
let's just say allegedly at this point.
Yeah, allegedly, and yeah,
And
it's she's got a lot to tell.
Yeah, and before I bring her on, I just want to say my wife. I don't subscribe to this stuff, but my wife always says, "Man, I'm an Aquarius. It's all Aquarius love to expose people. That's just in my blood." As Christians, we should do the right thing. Watch out for our neighbors. And with that, I want to introduce our guest. Are you on the line? Hello.
I am. Hi.
Okay, so we want to give an introduction as to who you are and where you come from.
I'm Marcy Hembry, and I live out in Greenwood. I live on my grandpa's last part of his estate, Johnny King Jr. Um, right here on off of 1110. So
Okay, Marcy, we got in contact with you in regards to Vander Ranch and what's going on, the debacle, and I believe the downfall, the downfall that's going to start with them. We'll see where it ends up. But what made you reach out to us? And you're kind of hesitant about talking to us. You're going to give I would say a crazy story or an origin story of your family's history, which I think is very interesting. But what made
Me
you
too.
reach out to us and kind of be hesitant and now you want to speak? Go ahead.
well, we uh we sold the property that is now Vander Ranch in 2015. My family did. And my great grandfather's name is John M. King Sr., and he homesteaded out here in 1897. I'm not sure how many acres, maybe 2,500 acres, and he was actually one of the original founders of Greenwood. And we've had this property in our family for years. And of course, over the years, different family members, you get older, you have to sell off property. And that's where my dad came into the dilemma to sell or not to sell, but he was getting older, and he was approached by these developers who are Vander Ranch in 2015, and reluctantly sold to them the 261 acres that Vander Ranch sits on.
Okay,
Um,
and I'm sorry to cut you off, but that number
that's
261.
okay.
Why does that number ring a bell? I heard somebody saying that on the interview. I don't why.
Well, Mike Zippert and Trevor Hill, they have many LLCs.
Oh
And I
yeah.
guess they came up and they get it through, I think they get licensed through the Secretary of State, the state of Texas. They apply for these LLCs. And because my great grandparents are the Kings, and that was their property, and all the surveys out here are King surveys, I guess they just picked that name. So King 261 LLC is the 261 acres that they
That's what
bought
we
from my
heard.
family.
Yeah.
Um, but the LLC is managed by two men named Mike Ziprich and Trevor Hill. But I guess they just go with the LLC because then they can hide behind their LLC and you don't know who owns it or who runs it. But
Well,
anyway, those guys were the ones that bought the acreage
okay.
that Vander Ranch sits on.
And I'll just say this: I have a couple of LLCs and an S corp myself. The LLC is formed in order to kind of protect you from being sued
Right.
of all things, right? You can make an LLC pretty easily, a couple $100 and some paperwork, and
Oh yeah,
you can
just a
have a
couple hundred.
and you
Yeah.
can have a company. I'll just say this: I'm not going to get put all my cards on the table, but from what we've researched, guys, this thing is deep as far as all the tentacles in this whole situation. I'll leave it at that. So, Marcy, um, your it was your grandfather, right? How did he make his bones? How did he make his money? With Greenwood, what was his
Well,
first
they came.
beginnings?
They came out here on a covered wagon from Oklahoma.
Aw.
And so they came out here and homesteaded, and they started ranching. They were ranchers, cattle ranch, and farmers. They grew cotton, alfalfa, um, and that was they donated. Well, when they got out here originally, they maybe in I think the early 1900s, like 1920s, they donated land to the Greenwood School District or the school district for a school and the original Baptist church up there. And there's actually a historical marker as him being one of the original founders. He was a county commissioner for 10 years, rode horseback for $5 a day all the way to town. And he fought really hard for this community, for roads and for schools.
Wow.
And my pawpaw, John King Jr., was also a county commissioner and rode on the Midland County Sheriff's Posse. I mean, they really cared about this community.
And,
Uh,
and you're
so that's kind of how we got started.
and
out
you're
here.
you're of course you were born out here,
I was born in Midland. Yes, I was.
man. Well,
I've only lived back out here. I've lived in Midland a couple of different times, but I came out here to be with my dad in probably like 2017 to come out here permanently just to help him and be with him. And unfortunately, he passed away in 2018. But
go ahead.
I'm living in my grandpa's house that he built out here in 1940. We were out here very secluded, everything, and we knew the neighborhood was coming, but they've been totally disrespectful to our family as well. So,
Well, I just want to say before I pass it to Christy, I know she wants to probably chime in here, but I love to meet other fellow Midlanders, especially those that were born here. Shout out I think it's Jeff. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Jeff Waterman says he was married in that Baptist church. This is the kind of people I like to do for and speak to, especially in Midland, Odessa, Greenwood, because not many of us. I'm not gonna say we're not around, but I was born here too, right? My wife was. So to meet someone that was born here in Midland is kind of an oddity at this point. But I'm going to say this. I guess you've seen Midland from what it was, Greenwood from what it was to what it's become. I want to ask you in a minute about what you think about how it's being developed at this point, if you like it or not. But I want to pass it to Christy, but I want to say this last thing. Being in Greenwood, I drive my 18-wheeler down 307 quite a bit. There's a lot of, wells out there, going towards Garden City and everything else. But I made a post a while back. I said, man, I hope they don't do Greenwood like they're doing Midland. And I kid you not, somebody replied and said, Nino, it's already happening. And with that, Christy, if you want to chime in, go ahead.
So this is just more of the sentimental part of like land ownership and things like that. My grandfather was born in 1901, died in 1989, and and I'm a Baptist,
Me
and
too.
he was a magistrate for the city for 19 years. He was the head of not transportation, but of highway construction, whatever that title is. He made 35 cents an hour back then doing that. But you talk about people back then that had hearts of gold and cared about education and cared about making sure that there was churches and the way that community should be. And so we have these outside players
Man.
now, 2025, that do not give two shits about anybody. Like this community does not mean anything to anybody
Only money.
but the people that are there in Vander Ranch.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Marcy, let me just ask you before I let you continue with your story here. You've seen it change. Has Midland, Odessa, Greenwood changed for the better or for the worse, in your opinion?
Oh my goodness, as far as Greenwood, it's awful and I hate to say that, but just the traffic and the building and the water situation, it's definitely worse. It's horrible.
I knew how you would answer that, unfortunately. And I'll say this, I woke up this morning and I ain't gonna lie, I got like a tinge in my heart. And I'm not trying to be emotional or weird, I'm a manly man, but I kid you not, I turned on my faucet and I brushed my teeth. And the first thing I thought about was Vander Ranch. And I said, man, I feel bad for those people out there. The things we take for granted every day. I will never complain about my neighborhood.
Yes.
I will never compare about my community, my neighbors, my water, my grass. I mean, my grass can grow tall. Thankfully, we take pride in our yard, but it can grow tall. I can have a bike outside. People in Vander Ranch tell me that they basically hawk eagle eye them every day, and you can't even have a bike outside for more than a day because they're going to find you. And I told my wife, I said, why would anybody want to join a HOA where they basically have you in a prison and you probably don't ever really own that land, which we really don't ever own our land in Texas the way they do taxes. But imagine living in an area where they basically monitor you in an HOA development. I think gotta live in the South Side. There might be dogs running around here and there, and a bunch of Mexican tonka tonka music playing, at midnight and 2 in the morning. But I kid you not, and they're right now. There's some young kids, my neighbors, singing some Spanish music in the backyard around a bonfire, and some kids laughing. I told my wife, I love that, and we're not gonna call ain't nobody calling the police over here or nothing like that. I'm just
Right.
saying it's nice to be in a neighborhood where people are having fun, and you don't have somebody with their thumb on you like the HOA in Vander Ranch. But anyways. Go ahead, Marcy. So
Well, that's what
go
I
ahead.
was thinking, kind of right when they were starting to develop. They started developing in uh, 2020. And I was just still, it was just hard. That property, just nobody's ever been over there. But I was thinking, you know what? It's going to be a really nice neighborhood, nice houses. I might meet some good friends. And I was trying just to get used to the idea. And then just everything started. And that's how I met a couple of neighbors over there, just from the water situation and just everything bad that's going on over there. As far as them turning whenever the HOA went into forfeiture, they changed all the rules and they started building these real tiny homes. And
Okay.
not yeah, so then it went from like it's going to be a really nice neighborhood to a rental community, and that's what they started getting closer to my house. And uh, we've tried to talk to the developers and ask them could they put a border fence, like separate their neighborhood, because it was all open out here. And they just kind of laughed at us and told us no, it's not in their budget, and no, they won't build the fences first. They need to know who's going to build or buy what lot and how big the house is going to be. Then all of a sudden they just started putting all these cookie cutter homes in, and they told us a taller fence wasn't in their budget. So I mean, we have 19 neighbors now, right on our property line, where we have never had a neighbor ever. I just thought that they would have been a little more respectful in that
And,
aspect,
and, and Mark, I'm gonna tell you, and that's what people tell me all the time. That I'm rude, I'm bold, I'm brash. I go to the town halls and talk crap. To these elected officials that work for us and use our money for God knows what. And they say that I'm real, controversial. I'm too loudmouth. I'm sometimes disrespectful. But my buddy from Kevin Williams at the Save Ranchland movement, he said that he wished they would have been more aggressive because they went in there playing nice, being respectful, and they got ran over. So I'm just saying sometimes
yeah.
it takes somebody to be courageous or to be outspoken, ruffle some feathers, and to get some kind of something done. I'm gonna be honest. Even if we lose, right? Anything that I'm a part of or we're a part of in the community, I'd rather go down with the fight. So I say I'd say this.
Yes.
Sometimes I think we do need to be aggressive in order to be protective of our community, our lifestyle, the way we grew up, the good old fashioned days. I mean, this MAGA, we want to make this country great again. And I'm not down with none of this progressive stuff. I'm more into what's the word called? Degrowth. I think Midland, Odessa, Greenwood, we're actually suffering, in my opinion, by having too many people come here, suck our resources up, and then they come make money and go back home, and we're stuck paying the taxes. And then you
Yeah,
got
they're gonna.
yeah, so
Yes, I agree.
and the developers come out here from Canada, Arizona, God knows where, and they come bust these moves with this land grab, land development that I think is pretty shisty and looks somewhat illegal, allegedly. And there they are, not respecting the locals. I say it all the time: respect the locals, respect the natives. But I said to say this. Let's get to the actual deal with your family. So what happened? They came to you, and what did the developers of Vander Ranch tell you when they first met y'all? Do you know?
Well, they didn't. We didn't even know like they were developers. My dad did all the dealing with them, and we really didn't know too much as his children. He was just saying he was going to sell the land, um, and it was just one guy. and he wanted to make a development. And he actually had talked to my dad and said that it was going to be, I thought, from what I remember, that it was going to be on bigger lots. Like there wasn't going to be 750 homes over there.
Oh,
That they were going to do it like on acreage. And my dad had asked him about the water. Well, there's only, a couple of water wells over there. It's mostly dry land. Where are you going to get your water from? We didn't know this then, but they had already, or maybe the next year after they purchased our property, they bought 51% of Greenwood Water Corporation, or the Greenwood water that was out here. So they had told my dad that they had water resources further away. I don't know if it was Winkler County. You can't quote me on that because I just don't know specifics, but we were told that they were going to have water for like 30 plus years. Right when they started developing in 2020, Cobb Veterinarian right across the street ran out of water. Some other neighbors right down the road ran out of their well water. And so these guys came in and had a water meeting just at a house just right down the road.
who's these
There was
guys?
like Trevor Hill and his son Nick Hill.
Is this
were-
before?
were-
Is this
were-
before? Is this before they got the land or after they got the
I'm
land?
sorry. No. Okay. So they bought the property in 2015. We never heard anything, saw anything until 2020. And my dad, unfortunately, had passed away. So they started developing, and uh, citizen or residents around that have been out here for years and had water wells for 50 years were running out of water. And I'm not sure how it came about, but Cindy Bowers, Trevor Hill, and Nick Hill held a meeting with just the residents of Greenwood, and there was only about 30 of us, and we were just at a house on County Road 110, and they were giving out a pamphlet, and I can find this for you, to buy into their water system. It was $6,500 to tap into their water. And this is before a house was even built on Vander Ranch. So they were already working, their park water. And we didn't know this, but it was park water. And you could tap into their water for $6,500. And then it was going to be like $200 for a 1.5 inch pipe, or you could do the 250, and that's without even turning on your faucet. That was be a month. But they told everybody in Greenwood, or the people that went to the meeting, that they had plenty of water that would last at least 30 years, and that would give them time to find other water
Were
resources.
you at the meeting?
I was at the meeting, but I had to stay anonymous at the meeting because I kind of skipped over this part. Right after they started developing in Vander, they kept cutting through flow lines like oil, crude lines,
What?
and yeah. So
That's a big.
that was an active,
That's a big no.
that was an active, productive oil lease. There was probably like
Oh,
six pump jacks over there, six different oil wells.
hold on, Marcy.
But
There was pump jacks on Vander,
yes,
and
and that's
what
what
happened to
I
them?
really. Okay, so after after the guys bought the property from us, and they started developing, in February of 2020. All of a sudden, Pioneer was involved because there was oil leaks and all kinds of problems because of their construction. And all of a sudden, in probably of March of 2020, I got a letter from Trevor Hill, um, stating that he just acquired the land, and that he's realized that there's an SWD well on the property that he is owner. He should be the owner of, and he wanted ownership of it
Oh,
plus 469,000 of
okay,
back money.
Marcy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got to interject real quick for people that don't know. So you're saying there was also an SWD on Vander? Is it still there?
Yes. It's still there.
Where
It's
where
it's
where at?
at
I didn't
the
see it. I didn't see it. Where was it at?
no, you didn't, and I can show it to you. It's on the east property. It's on their east property line,
Okay.
probably northeast corner,
Real quick, y'all. I wanted to
which
ask
is
you.
probably too close to the houses that are supposed to be built back there.
Yes, Marcy, and
There's not supposed to.
I
Yeah,
want to explain to my audience real quick. An SWD is saltwater disposal. Is basically, I'm an oil hauler, but I've hauled water. It's a place where salt water goes because when you produce oil,
yeah. They
water
inject. Yes,
yeah, water and oil comes out the ground, and sometimes they got to get rid of that water either through pipe or through truck, and it goes to a saltwater disposal. And they get that water and they shoot it back down, I guess somewhere,
correct.
in a pocket or somewhere, and they get rid of the water. Now we're wondering if somehow they were using Vander or using that SWD to get rid of some material. I don't
I
know.
wondered that too. I wondered that too, and
I was thinking about that because that might contaminate the groundwater. I don't know how this works. This is just a thought. But anyways, I want to explain to everybody. Saltwater disposal is basically a place where they have a pump that's already drilled a hole in the ground. They put the water, trash water, salt water from the rigs or wherever from around the area. They truck it to that saltwater disposal, and that saltwater disposal puts it deep into the ground with the pump. So that's what that SWD does. You can make a lot of money because you can also sell oil. They get skim oil. They make money off of water trucks and different people that are piping it in. So a saltwater disposal is a good investment. And there's many out here. There's just a bunch of tanks. They're usually the ones that sometimes explode when there's lightning because they're fiberglass tanks. I digress. It's basically a site where they collect water in tanks and they shoot it down the ground. So this guy tells you so let me clarify. You're saying he comes and tells you that SWD, that's your family's SWD, correct? He's saying
Correct.
that was part of the deal for the 261 acres. Is that correct?
Well, he said it should be his.
Okay.
In reality, my family kept the mineral estate, and unfortunately, we did think the saltwater disposable well was part of the mineral estate. Since then, we found out that it is a surface owner's right, which they did
Wow.
own the surface. But the deal with that is Mike Zipprich knew the deal, and Trevor Hill was like the finance company people. Mike Zipprich was signing for Trevor Hill, and 6 years later they come back, and I never had heard of Trevor Hill. He wasn't on any, he didn't sign the sale agreement, nothing. He's the one that sent us the letter and said he just acquired the land. In reality, his company is the one that financed in 2015. So everybody knew it was supposed to stay with family. And uh, they came back, and unfortunately we didn't have a good enough deed securing that, so they sued us for it. We came to terms that, okay, we don't have a correct deed, although these guys know we're going to lose it. So we were okay with that, but for them to try to sue us for 460 millionaires trying to sue us, I mean, a family that, we sold them the property. To me, that's morally wrong. And anyway, they ended up getting the SWD.
But
We had
hold
to
on.
pay an attorney.
I'm
Okay.
sorry to cut you off. But why did they want to sue you for that much? Because that was the back pay of what the SWD was
That
making.
was the back pay
Okay,
for over like 7 years. Yes. And that
man,
was
what?
divided into many family members,
I,
and that money was gone.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I got a couple. I got some interest in some oil wells. I mean, you only get a small percentage, and especially if it's in a
Right.
family trust or
A
situation.
huge family.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean,
Big
let's.
family.
I'm gonna be honest. This is just my opinion. What a scummy move. You know what I mean? You come
That's
in.
what I,
Anyways, continue.
And
Sorry, Marcy. Or go ahead, Christy.
I have a question, and I hope you don't
and so
mind.
they're making money on that SWD back there, probably 10 grand plus,
I-
maybe even more
If not
a
more.
month for one person. Yeah. Which was divided by many people. But yeah, so they're making money on that. They have access to it. I agree with you on the sewage disposal because it was back then they just got ownership of it, and there were more and more trucks going back there about the same time as they were having, sewage problems. So
Oh,
I totally agree. I don't
and
know how to find that out. I know the Railroad Commission is supposedly on top of SWDs.
But you
But
know what? We see how it works with going up the ladder, raising alarms. People don't even care. I mean, look at all the people y'all talked. They talked to Terry Johnson, Summers, and they're not even doing anything about this active situation with Vander Ranch. But I just want to say something real quick. I'm going to be honest. I've hauled water and I've hauled tank bottoms, and that stuff is nasty sludge. And I'm just going to say this. I could see someone taking a tanker, the sewage tankers they have are nothing different than
right,
than a regular water tanker or oil tanker as far as the way the mechanics work with the pump. I could see them throwing a couple thousand barrels of sewage down a hole.
exactly.
I'm not saying they did that. I'm just saying I could see how that could be possible. Christy, go ahead.
So what I want to say is I really want to talk about this raw sewage. So I really did some research on this, and raw sewage in the ground can remain for varying durations depending on how much, like what the level of E. coli or coliform is. It says that it can stay for several weeks to months. But the one thing that really got me is that it says that salmonella and E. coli in a like a runoff ditch or that water that you show that has all that raw sewage, it can double every 20 minutes.
Wow. And so my well water, and thank God that I still have my well, but for how long, and is it contaminated, or going to be?
And Marcy,
Because they're right next door to me.
Marcy, that's another question. People are, and I'm glad we're exposing Vander Ranch because people are writing in the comments like, "Is this going to affect my well that's right near y'all?" And I said, "They're near Vander Ranch." I said, "That's actually a good question." I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm just saying people should ask questions, right? Because I would be very leery of anyone like these people, doing what they're doing out there, and I would be leery that they would damage or make my well messed up or contaminated, shall I say. Anyway, so
Yeah.
continue, Marcy. They sue you. They take the SWD.
Okay, yes.
Go ahead.
So they got the SWD, and my family, several of us had to come together and hire an attorney. We had to pay $20,000 for an attorney to have to pay them $75,000. I walked the checks up to Nick Hill at the office of Vander Ranch. We were able to pay it off in like 4 payments, and I had to hand him a check. I didn't want to mail it. I wanted to look him in the face, but we had to pay them, and we went through mediation like 8 hours, and they weren't budging, and my family got scared because we couldn't afford to go to trial. I wanted to go to trial because I think what they've done is wrong, but the legal, um, you know,
Hurdles.
yeah. So, I mean, there's certain things you have to have. No, they might not have even listened to us and just looked at the deed, and we would have lost, and we would have had to possibly pay the whole amount to these guys. And
Oh
I mean, to
man.
me, that's just
Uh,
it's just heartbreaking. And then, I know we can't do anything about that, but then to go further into it, they keep building houses, and they keep having problems with Pioneer, and there was legal issues between Pioneer and King 261 for at least a year. They were making them stop development. So they finally made an agreement, which I didn't think this was legal, because they don't have any interest in our mineral estate. King 261, Mike Zipprich, Trevor Hill, Cindy Bowers, made an agreement with Pioneer that they had to plug and abandon all the wells over there. And there was
what?
like 3 that were not producing, but 3 were actively producing. So they've got those wells over there plugged and abandoned, and they're supposed to be marked and fenced. And I
They're
feel
not.
like these houses might even be on top of some of these very recently plugged. I mean, since 2020, they probably plugged them in 2022, and they're building houses
So
maybe right on top of them.
Marcy, I guess it's kind of hard for you to kind of tell exactly where the leases or the wells were, but that's pretty interesting. You're saying that. Now, again, y'all, this is all allegedly. We're not saying they did this. We're saying that we need to check into this and we need to verify that there are no houses on top of plugged wells.
Okay, I have a survey of when they bought the
Okay,
property, and they are all marked. I don't know how to actually get to that very coordinates, like longitude, latitude, but I know kind of specific. Um, I kind of know where they were, but
Like the
not
general area.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I do have
wow.
papers that show where they were, and I have the paperwork or the from the court where they did plug them and what the names were, so I can provide those to
Okay.
y'all.
And Jeff says, how the hell they get Pioneer to agree to that? That's a pretty good question because I know how Pioneer, they're sticklers, you know, but I'm going to be honest. These people in
They
my,
got money.
I was going to say, you know what they sound like? Like some damn out of state, what do you call them when you get in a wreck, the ambulance chasers. They seem like
Yep.
people that just come to a community and just suck whatever resources and money out of it, you know, just screwing people over
Yeah,
through litigation and court proceedings. I can't stand people like that. Like, damn, get a real
I can't
job.
either.
Straight up, get a
They did
job.
the same thing, and they did the same thing to Cheney Ranch. The man that
That
sold them Cheney Ranch,
and
they sued him.
see, and that's another topic. People are telling me to look into Cheney Ranch. They're telling me to look into Parks Bell Ranch. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm only one person, but
Yes, sir.
we will get to who we can. So, anyways, so they start developing. Continue. What's happening next? Continue with your story. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't really know where I was. I get so
Okay,
upset about the whole
you're
situation.
taking the checks. You're taking the checks to the baby face over here. I forgot his name. I have him in
Yeah,
the
just
video.
have Nick
Yeah.
Nick.
Hill. He's
Oh,
the son. And it was just hard. It was disheartening, and like this is my family's legacy out here,
Right.
and to see these guys screwing Greenwood over so bad and every day, and I don't get how you can be on water restrictions and water notices, and you don't have enough water to service the homes you already have, and all these homes around me, they're empty right now. But and they're still building more homes. How are they? How are they getting approved to do that? It's just everything is just disgusting to me.
Okay. So Marcy, you're giving. So at this point, you see Vander Ranch. I guess unless you have anything else to touch on from the past. Well, let me ask you this: why did your dad end up selling all the land to him for? Why do you think he did that in 2015?
Well, he was just getting older, and he was the executor of my grandpa's estate, and he didn't think anybody would be moving out here. The other brothers and the siblings that have passed away, their family has moved out of Greenwood, so he just thought that's what he had to do. Um, and unfortunately, we wished he wouldn't have. And I know
Man.
after he sold, he wished he wouldn't have.
Man, Marcy,
Um,
I'm gonna tell you right now, realizing how important water is, I'll probably say it's up there with oil. You know, I
right.
understand it. What's done is done, but man, imagine if he would have kept that land right now, it would have been really
I
valuable.
wish
You know, but
oh, why?
everything's in hindsight, right? And even Chrissy, you know, was
if
about.
I still had it, there would be farmers over there farming the land just like it always was,
Did,
and would but
did you?
I
Did you?
mean,
I guess
water's a necessity.
Yeah,
Like it. I mean, oil is something that we need because we have to, fuel our cars and things like that. But you cannot live without
right.
water.
yeah.
And
And those
all I can,
guys knew that there wasn't that much water over
And
there.
that's what I want to ask
and
you.
the only thing, the last point that I just want to make real quick, I think that we should offer Trevor Hill and Nick Hill and Zipperich, whenever the pool finally does open, that we hold a pool party with them and bring
let
them.
them go in first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And with ice cold tap water.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Hey, shout out. Midland Street News says any landman can help identify the well locations. So let's see if we can get someone to help us out here, y'all. And I know a landman or two. I digress. Real
And
quick.
I'll give you a survey.
Okay. Midland Street News is here, so God bless Stan out there. Let me ask you this: I told Christy, I said, I wonder if that land's kind of cursed. Not your family's land, but as far as like maybe they're going to get their I don't believe in karma, but get what they deserve. I would say because they're having all these issues, and I believe this is my opinion. I believe Vander Ranch is gonna fall. It's gonna be just like Coral. I forgot the other city. My wife looked up more into that. You want to see a deep dive? Go look into the development that they bankrupt in this last city. I forgot the name. Sorry for not remembering it. But same thing. They had a bunch of problems. Citizens were pissed. They shut it down. The city had to cover all the fees, bankruptcy, whatever happened to the other company, and then they came to Greenwood. And I think these guys, they wrote a book, y'all. This is their play. The water moves and all kinds of stuff. It's in the video I dropped with Rick. Very informative video. It's doing big numbers on Facebook right now. I digress. So this is what I want to ask you. I'm not saying the land is cursed, but did your father or did the community know that where Vander Ranch is currently, that it was hard ground as far as getting water out? Did you already know about the problems that might
Oh
have
yeah,
been associated?
half of that acreage was dry land. So they just prayed for rain for their crops to grow. I mean, they built this development on a cotton field. What do they expect? I mean, there's tumbleweeds, there's mice, there's snake. I mean, I don't know. They come out here and act like it's going to be a luxurious neighborhood, but it's actually on a dry land cotton field where they knew there wasn't enough water to build a big neighborhood. So it was supposed to be kind of like Cheney, like more acreage and less homes. But that is not what's happening.
It,
They say that 750 homes are supposed to be on 261 acres.
That,
Wow.
this can be. Is this a ghost town? Anyways, I digress. Shout out everybody putting the comments in here. People are learning, y'all. Cooper's Cove, I guess. I don't know how to say it. Cooper's Cove.
Copper's Cove.
Copper's
Yeah,
Cove. That's
Copper's
that's
Cove.
that's where they came from, y'all. And look at that deep dive. We'll probably do one later. But anyways, so they start developing out there, right? When did you start hearing? Or before I go into this, did you have any problems with your water as far as bleach on clothes or clothes being bleached or skin
No,
irritation growing
no,
up? Growing up,
no. So far, no, no. So far, no.
interesting.
Nothing
Okay,
with our.
and you're
And
go ahead.
we try to test our wells every couple of months just to make sure what's in it. And like I said earlier, I'm just thankful that I still have my water because I will not buy their water.
Hell
Marcy,
no.
I don't know what I'll do.
Ha,
I'll go to a
Marcy,
truck stop and
uh,
take a shower before
uh,
buy their water.
so the deal with the $6,800 hookup fee is, has anybody, someone commented on here? I'd like to see if they comment again, but they said they bought into.
6,500.
Okay, 6,500. I'm sorry. Someone said they bought into it. Do you know anybody that's bought into it? Are they getting good water, or what's going on with the people that?
I don't know. I know called Veterinarian. They bought into it, and some neighbors down on 110, across from Vander. They had to. They ran out of water. I don't know about the quality. All I know is about the quality in Vander. I have some friends over there I've met through this whole ordeal, and I mean, I don't know any other people personally.
and
And
Marcy, that's a question I want to ask you real quick. Like, what kind of emotional toll has this had on you? You knew that this was like your family's farm, that it was used most of the time to like raise crops and things like that. You see this big subdivision start moving in,
man,
and you start hearing from your friends and all of these things, because I know you have like your own separate well that you haven't had a shortage of water and stuff like that. Like, what kind of emotional toll has this had on you, knowing
Well,
that these kids are getting
yeah.
sick, animals are dying?
And yeah, at first, huge as far as personal. And
Right.
that was just personal. I mean, just seeing everything changing. The amount of trash we've had to pick up, trespassing, just it's been horrible. But for about 4 years, and I couldn't sleep. I was just always trying to research and try to find this is not right. So then, just seeing the neighborhood, and when I finally come to terms that okay, we're going to have neighbors and this is going to be okay, and maybe I'll meet some good friends. I have not one happy moment from anybody over there. It's just they're over there, they're stuck.
wow.
It's really sad. I mean,
Mm,
it's very emotional.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Sorry to cut you off, Marcy. Let me ask you. So you said
it's okay.
you never grew up with any issues with the water as far as what they're having now. When did you first notice that everything at Vander Ranch wasn't as it seemed or as they promised? Like, when did you start hearing about this? Were there rumors? Were people starting to speak? Because now it's becoming very apparent something's wrong with the water and more stuff about Vander. But when did you start noticing this, and what did you first
I
start
think
noticing?
it's when I first noticed was when they were talking about how high the water bills were, and and there was only maybe 10 houses over there, and people already felt stuck over there. And just the communication with the HOA, probably like late 2020 is when I started hearing about things aren't right over there. And I was still trying to investigate, like, and at that time, I don't even know who owned the water company. Like, we didn't know the same guys owned the water company when all this started either. So, yeah, I mean, I got to got to know a couple of people in the neighborhood, and for 4 years now, and they've just been devastated and knew they made a mistake right when they moved in.
Okay. Excuse me. So, the first 10 people, they start seeing problems, right? So I guess you get involved, and I don't know if Rick was one of them. I know he was one of the first. I don't know if he was the first 10, but we interviewed him. So when you heard this
Yes.
going on, when did they start talking about the water actually hurting them, or bleaching the clothing?
I can't tell you an exact date, but I would say really early on, like at least 3 years ago. One of my good friends has had problems from the beginning, and her whole family is affected. Her mental health is, just all the way the lowest it can be. Just so I would say at least 3 years, maybe 3.5 years. I've
I
been
think that's
hearing
what
horrible.
yeah, I think that's what I heard from most people was about. It was started about 2022 that the bleach water and all that
Yeah,
was
well,
really bad.
right when they started trying to service all these homes where they don't have the proper sewage facility, they don't. It's not even up. It can't even
Keep up, right?
keep up with the homes that they had, and they just kept building, building, building
And
with
I
an
know,
already faulted system. So
well, and I know that like people are really upset about the bleach clothes and things like that. But I just think for me, like knowing that this raw sewage is running into just like open land, and there's kids out there playing, there's pets out there playing, and so much
and yeah,
biohazard that
and
it's
you saying that
going.
reminds me that I remember smelling sewage over, and my neighbors right beside me too. And we're not even a part of Vander. We do border their property. But when the pond first started having the sewage odor, we smelt it too. And their water trucks, they were working behind my house spraying the ground, and their water coming out of their water truck smelled like sewage. And it actually was splashing on us. I tried to get a water
Wow.
sample of that, but that was at least 3 years ago.
So I just want to tell a real quick story about just because of how bad I know sewage is. After work, I was driving down my street, and it was the most god awful smell I've ever smelled in my life. So the city was tapping us into city sewer, and whenever they did that, they made a neighbor 2 doors down and our septic tank completely collapsed and fell. So, whenever I walked in, whenever I tell you, it was literally 6 inches of human feces like floating through my house. I was about to have a nervous breakdown. We had yellow tape across the door that the house was condemned. Anything that water touched
Well,
that was wood or any kind of soluble material like had to be pitched.
well, well,
Absolutely just
well,
gone.
well, Christy, you know what's crazy, right? Someone said in the comments, but it's true. H2S forms in low bottom areas, even like in septic tanks and systems. So you probably even smelt some H2S, sis. That's basically what it is,
It's
decomposing
sulfur,
material.
isn't it?
It smells
Isn't that
like
sulfur?
rotten eggs. It can
Yeah,
kill
that's
you.
sulfur.
Yeah,
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 sulfur.
sulfur,
Yeah.
exactly. It can kill it.
I
Go
just
ahead.
I just had some family that came out. They have some property on County Road 120. Came out to just look around and see all the changes. And we got, and this is not a lie. Their property comes almost up to that pond area over there behind Vander Ranch. And we got out to look at their property markers to make sure they were still there. And the wife would not get out of her truck. She said, "Oh my gosh, it smells like rotten eggs over here. What is that smell?" And that was right on the south side of Vander Ranch's pond. And that was just like 2 days ago. And family
Oh,
from another town that they don't even know what's happening
yeah.
in Vander.
And I hate to
And
say the H2S, that smell can like deaden your senses where y'all are used to it, and someone comes from somewhere else and they're like, damn, they can smell it automatically, you know?
Yep.
This is horrible. So let me ask you this part because this is very interesting when Rick pointed this out in the video. If anybody wants to watch it, it's on my YouTube channel, it's on my Facebook page, and it's basically the whole breakdown of how Vander Ranch was, how they did all this, I would say. But when you found out that the main guy owned the plant and all this, like, do you know the breakdown? Can you explain that real quick? And how did you feel when you found out that it's like a monopoly for this guy? That's very odd in my opinion.
yeah, so like Trevor Hill.
Yes, or
Is
all of
that
them.
Yes.
yeah, all of them. I mean, so we originally thought Mike Zipprich was the purchaser of the property, and that he was going to make a development. And so then, yeah, to find out that Trevor Hill, Cindy Bowers, Mike Zipprich, Nick Hill, they're all the same. People I see on Vander community page that people want to call and try to get help from the HOA, or they want to call and get help from the water company. I'm like, you're in sad shape because they are all the same people. They're wanting to complain about the developer, but the developer is all of those other entities. Yeah,
Wow.
it's to me it seems crooked, seems illegal. I don't know how our state is even licensing these guys, and our commissioners are approving the developments when the situation's so bad. I don't understand at all.
I don't understand how there is not considered a conflict of interest whenever you have the homeowners association that is in collusion with, what is it, Park Water? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
ran
How
by the same guys.
exactly? Like,
It's
how is that not
well, Christy.
conflict of
Well,
interest?
Christy, it's like I confronted the lawyer for the Midland city of Midland. He's also the lawyer for
Exactly.
the MDC, and he said that because
Exactly.
this is how they get around it. It's written in the bylaws, so they write their own laws within their own documents, and they abide by them. So it's not illegal, I guess, but unethical, borderline, immoral. I believe so. This is how they operate. This is how power is, y'all. When it's unchecked. They come in
If
here
we
and they do what they want. They think people are going to shut their mouths and be nice and look the other way. Hell no. Christy already knows. People already know when they got Nino America on the case with my people. There's a group of us now. It's not just me. So best believe we see some corruption in West Texas. When we get time, we're going to it and we're going to be on that bumper. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, hopefully you're getting it checked because they need to get checked. And if we need to go to the county commissioners meetings, storm the county commissioner court, somebody needs to do something. And I really appreciate you. I
Yes, ma'am.
think you're going to be helpful for sure.
And Lindsay,
Marcy,
hold on, Christy. Go ahead, Christy. I have a question here, but go ahead.
okay, the only thing I was going to say, Marcy, is I talked to Nino about this, and I talked to somebody else about this yesterday. There is power in numbers if you do like storm one of those commission meetings or whatever. But I just suggest to anybody that sees stuff going on out there not to confront people about their doing, just report.
Christy, good advice when Zachary Brown said this. He said, when HOA lady comes by, we need to pull our water hoses out and start spraying her truck. She usually has her window down.
That is hilarious.
Christy, you're trying to tell us to leave them alone, and these people are wanting to spray them with water. Be like, here's a water sample.
I'll spray them with water.
Hey, let's be honest though, right? I said this to my wife. I was like, man, I don't know if I said it here on the live earlier, but who the hell want to live in an HOA where you're like in a prisoner? Like, damn, the HOA lady, she drives. Everybody's telling me about her. She drives around the neighborhood harassing people. Go ahead.
Yes, and she does it like after a sandstorm. Like we're in Midland, Texas. She goes the very next day after we've had a massive
She probably gets a bonus.
I don't know, but the tumbleweeds, if they would have kept up with their property in the first place, there wouldn't be any tumbleweeds. But they blow into these people's yards and in front of their doors, and then they get a HOA fine for tumbleweeds that they're not.
Hey, it's wild. I want to address something. Lindsay says, "Do people trying to sell homes out there have to disclose the water situation?" Ashley Binder. I'm going to say this. Rick said it. He's honest. He said he's had 4 showings. He said in the video, and legally, I hate to say this because people, I mean, if you screw somebody over, shame on you. But if you could sell your house from Vander Ranch, good job, because I don't know who could sell their house out there. But this person is asking, do you have to disclose the water issue? We were informed by Rick, the lawyer. He said that legally you don't, because that's not part of the house. It's not a problem associated directly with the property, right? Even though it supplies the
Right.
house, or doesn't in this case, you don't have to disclose it, right? But he said that he tells everybody, because like, how can you sleep at
I
night?
will
Which
have to
I
too.
know
Yeah.
some people could do it, but I couldn't sleep at night trying to sell my house on somebody,
Me
you know.
either.
But legally you don't have to disclose that. But I would hope and pray you do disclose it. But again, if you could sell your house at Vander Ranch right now, I'll give you props, because I don't think anybody's trying to buy out there. But some people might slip through the cracks.
You know,
And
me,
that's what I'm
family.
hoping with
Oh,
what
damn.
y'all are doing
Hold
is
on.
going to help get this fixed.
Go. I hate to say this. Antonio said earlier he was showering, the chlorine smell was gone, and he said, "Oh, spoke too soon. It still smells the same." Damn. Sorry
Oh.
about that,
No,
Antonio. Go ahead. Sorry, y'all.
no.
No, I was just saying what I would hope would come out of this is that the situation gets fixed, remedied, however, so these people can enjoy their homes for the rest of their life, and not even have to worry about selling them like that, to get that area fixed, fix the problem, at least address it, and quit causing possible health problems, for your children. And I something needs to be done. I feel so bad for every single person over there. I want them to be able to sell and move out, but it would be better if they could fix it to where it would be okay to live there again.
Marcy,
I don't know. They need to quit building houses for one thing.
I don't know how, like, I don't even know how realistic it is for even anything to be fixed. You know,
And then
you can
Yeah, and
only
then if
put
they
so
can't do
much.
that, then tear it all down and let it be
Yeah.
cotton or
Uh,
farmland again, which it probably should have stayed.
okay. We're winding down here. I'm going to say this, and I'll pass it back to y'all. But what's the solution here? Okay, I ain't gonna lie. We talked to a real estate lady, and we kind of act like we were going to buy a home, and Shandy was in there. But man, we had the Midland Street News shirt. You know, we're recording. We have microphones. She's all, y'all not part of that group that's going to expose Vander, are y'all? I'm like, oh, I got to get out of here. I don't like lying to people. But anyways, she said, yeah, there is a water. She kind of like said it offhand. There is kind of a water issue. But this is what she said, right? She said, these houses are cheap right now, but once we resolve the water issue, they're gonna be worth 100,000 more. But from what I heard, people bought it for about 400,000, and now they're worth about 300,000. So you lost a lot of money, value in your house because of the rental issue, right? When they're putting in rental homes when they shouldn't have, and then you don't have no water. So if look, I'm gonna be honest. Me being in Vander Ranch, I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy. I want to give hope to my people. Christ is Lord. Believe on Him. Put your hope in our Lord Jesus. There's the hope for the night. But I'll tell you this: I honestly don't have no hope in the Vander Ranch subdivision, and really it affects a lot more of Greenwood. I said to say this: I walked around Vander Ranch. I saw it myself. I'm speaking to the people there, y'all. I don't know how they're going to fix Vander Ranch, especially with them people that are running it. I believe they're gonna hops, hit the boogie woogie skedaddle, and they're going to get out of there sooner or later, y'all. So I don't know how Vander Ranch is going
Yeah.
to get fixed, because people have told me really there is. I talked to somebody that was working for a whistleblower. I'll just say that they said that there really is no way to fix it. It's too many problems. They happen too fast. There's not a way to fix Vander Ranch. Now I don't know if there is, but I'm going to be honest, y'all. I think Vander Ranch subdivision, if they tore it all down, I would think that'd be a better solution than trying to patch it up,
You're
because I
you're
don't think they
right.
could patch it up. I'm just being honest. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. Go ahead, Marcy.
No, you're right. Like the houses that they're building in a matter of days, like 2 days, I'll look out my window because they're right behind, 40 feet behind my house. There won't be anything. The next morning, a whole entire house is up. How are they building a good quality home in 2 days?
Yeah,
They're not.
they're
I mean,
not. No, there's
they're
no,
going to
there's no
fall
way.
down.
Yeah,
And
and I don't want to be negative for the people, because I told my wife, I said, if I saw someone like me that lived in Midland talking crap about my neighborhood or my house that I bought for $400,000, I will be pissed. But let's be honest, y'all. The truth, don't let it offend you, y'all. the truth hurts, but I'll do it out of love. I mean, I spent like 6 hours in Vander Ranch yesterday. My wife and Shandy wanted to go back today and go knock on doors and talk to people. We care about Vander Ranch, y'all. But I'm just being
Yeah.
honest. I don't see no good solution in the end unless they start handcuffing certain people that have certain
That's
positions.
what I want too.
You know what I'm
That
saying?
was the other
Or I would even
alternative.
say
I want
this.
those guys in prison.
Or I would even say this, that plus a class action lawsuit. You never know. Shout out my boy Antonio. He said he bought his house $22,000 off listed price back in 23. I would like to see someone like him and the residents maybe get a piece of the pie. Get a couple, if they had a
Yeah.
class action lawsuit, it'd be nice to see y'all, get something out of the deal. Christy, go ahead.
I was just going to say that whenever you were talking about being a Debbie Downer, well, unfortunately, I am going to be the Debbie
Thank
Downer
you.
right now.
I ain't the only one.
um, I, I think that there are such serious health issues that are going on out there. We really seriously, whenever I said this is so, like you said yesterday, Nino, peeling back the layers of an
And
onion.
Christy, there's a lot more. There's a lot more that we're privy to that we're not going to say on air, but it's crazy. Continue.
Exactly.
Just wait.
But whenever you start talking about like the arsenic, you talk about the kids playing in this retaining pond. Whenever you see raw sewage coming from an uncapped thing, like flowing out, and the next day it's covered up, it stays in the ground for months. I don't know. It's just really sad, and I don't know how to help everybody, but just to really try to get a third party environmental protection agency
Hey,
involved. Yeah.
Hey, Chris, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I got to ask you this. But I'm going to be honest. I'll be with the class action lawsuit maneuver. I'll be trying to figure out how to sue them. Christy, what would you do, Christy, if that HOA lady came to your house bugging you about your son's bike on the front yard, $50 fine if you don't pick it up?
The same thing I did to Liberty Dragons, a lawyer.
Oh,
And
damn. Oh, I can't believe
and
that.
I know in that live, I am brutally honest. I am blunt. I have really
For real.
tried to cut back on my cussing and stuff like that. But I would give them hope. I would give them hell. They would hate to see me come and talk and tell you
Hey,
because we are one at it.
And real quick, final word. I want to touch on the pool real quick. Your thoughts, Marcy, on that pool? How much would they have to pay you for you to dive into that pool, Marcy?
I would never dive in that pool. No amount of money. And speaking of okay, so I saw the pool yesterday, but back when the pictures were taken of the sewage overflowing on the ground, I was out there on those days too. And this whole situation is disgusting. And you're right, it's probably never going to be able to be fixed. So they should just tear it down and go. Now the original homes over there, I think, are beautiful. The people that bought into like the luxury living scheme that they had, they're nice homes. But all these other ones that they're just going up in a day, they need to be torn back down.
I'm gonna be honest. Me and my wife, we saw. I don't want to say her name. Did we already disclose her name?
Yeah,
the caller from yesterday. I'll leave it at that. We went to her home. Beautiful home in the inside. It's a
Yes.
beautiful home. It don't look too bad, but something about the neighborhood's kind of off to me. It's just too closed in. But I'm gonna be honest.
Completely.
You wanna go see some weirdo activity? Go into the part where they're building the homes within days, y'all. There's a bunch of illegals. I'm gonna say it right now. I believe they're illegals. I talked to them. They don't talk no English. They look like they came off the boat from Guadalajara. They look like they came straight off the boat. About 10 of them. I'm not lying. I got a good wet dar. I could spot them a mile away. These people are out there painting homes. It's like a gang. These fools are probably MS-13 or El Salvadorians. I don't know, but they're in that division. And I even said, damn, they're probably living in one of these vacant houses out here, and painting these homes. I'm not lying, y'all. There's like a bunch of them. I need to call ICE, to be honest. But like I said,
And well, I'm surrounded by those empty homes. It's creepy. It's so creepy. It's very unsettling.
Yeah, look, I was in there in the daytime, and it's very creepy. But I'll say this: what I noticed about them, and I said it on my last live, they're like 20% brick and like 80% paneling. It's like a habitat home. Those are and somebody said they're not selling them yet, but they're renting them. And these are the houses that are out there in Greenwood, y'all. They look like Habitat for Humanity houses, y'all. And they have a group of MS-13 gangbangers supposedly out there working on them, you know? So anyways, I digress. We're winding down here, y'all. Christy, final words on the live. Go ahead.
No, just the only thing I wanted to say is that, I'm glad that D.R. Horton, even with all of the bad things that they've done here in Florida, Louisiana, and Texas, I feel like that somewhere along the line, and maybe it was Vander Ranch that made them realize, because you go to some like D.R. Horton, I guess you would call them neighborhoods, resorts, whatever. I have a good friend that moved into one. She was extremely lucky. She's in the Air Force. She got a VA loan. It's like a 4,000 square foot house, and it is beautiful. And they have exactly what they promised. They have the resort pool, they have the workout gym, they have the lakes, they have everything, and it's completely different than what we're about.
Vander Ranch got a fat pond in a pool, and I don't know which one I'd rather jump into for real. Like which one? If I had to pick between the pond and the pool, I don't know. I'll probably jump in the pond. Damn, it's horrible.
Nina, so one last thing is somebody sent me a message that once again the pool opening was delayed, and that it was going to be, I can't remember now. I think it was, I'm trying to find it.
Sis, that pool's been opening for years, but go ahead. I'm sorry. God,
yeah. I mean, so now I think they said it was like towards the end of June that, I can't find the text message now. But anyway, said that there was going to be a pool opening. It was going to happen later than expected. They're hoping that by June 29th, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't have it in front of me right now. And I swear to you that I really thought the people that developed this and the Zipperich and Trevor's and they need to be the ones to show pride. They need to be the first ones to jump in that pool. Yep. And I will have a float. I will have a float set up for them with ice cold tap water, and they need to stand on their word of what a great residence this is at Vander Ranch.
You know, it reminds me of on Aaron Brockovich when that lady tells her, "You drink this water. It came from y'all's wells out there."
Attorney.
Remember that?
Hinkley Wells.
Yep.
She looks at her. Yep. She looks at her and says, "And by the way, we had that water specially brought in from Hinkley." And the lady doesn't take a drink. And that's what reminded me of them jumping in that pool.
And you know what? I hope it gets fixed, y'all. But again, I don't believe there's any hope for them to get their together out there at Vander Ranch. I'm just being honest. I'm not being a hater. I'm just being completely honest. Marcy, thank you for your time. I want you to give your final words. What do you want everybody to know out there? Thank you for telling your story. You're very brave. I got your back. Marcy, final word is yours. What do you have to tell the nation?
I just wanted to say that I just hope we can get rid of these guys. Ever since they came to Greenwood from day one, from purchasing, and they started before they purchased our property. They started with Cheney Ranch. I think we need to get them out of here and then start fresh. And I personally hope they go to prison. They're crooked in my eyes from
I agree.
All of them. And then I just hope the community can kind of recover and get back to good.
Amen.
And so I'm gonna say my last little statement. At some point, paranoia and anxiety and all of that has to kick in whenever you see that you're bathing your babies and they're coming out with chemical burns from the water. You read about how arsenic, even at low amounts, just continues to build until it's at toxic levels. And then you talk about the raw sewage, which pretty much the only way to handle raw sewage is massive lime over the top of it. They're not going to put down 261 worth of lime. They are absolutely not going to do that. And it just makes me sad because people are stuck and they know that their health and their children's health, their pets' health is all in jeopardy. It really truly is, and it's sad that people are okay selling this to families, people that believe the hype.
Yeah, and I'll end with this, y'all. I concur with what y'all said. It's very sad that this happened, and now I see y'all's complaints are valid because I kept hearing people say, "Well, what they promised us, what they promised us." The whole thing with the water is messed up, but it's even more messed up that they promised the citizens this extravagant, beautiful. It's in the video with Rick. They promised all these great amenities, and they've not gotten anything. All they've gotten is an HOA lady riding around charging you $50 for not blowing dirt off your rocks. That fly in from tumbleweeds, fly in from their empty lots and deserted houses to get watered at all times of the day. I digress. The point is, y'all, we're here. We're going to help out Vander Ranch. We're going to help out Greenwood because this honestly affects more people than the Vander Ranch subdivision. We want to warn people. The Bible is very clear. That's our job and duty as concerned citizens, Christians, good neighbors, is to warn our fellow citizens of America, people in our community, of dangers, ripoffs, scumbags, hazards, and we want to issue caution to anybody out there, and we want to help you. Again, like I said, my inbox is flooded. Christy already been reading messages. We can't even get back to them this quick. But again, Marcy, thank you. Everybody at Vander Ranch, my people out there, I got y'all's back. We're gonna keep our foot on their neck until something hopefully happens. If not, we're gonna go down fighting, and that's all there is to it. So with that,
And that I got to say this just because it rolls on what you said. We absolutely are at the very beginning of this story. This will not be completed until we hold those accountable, responsible.
yes.
We're just hearing stories and videos right now. This is the very beginning. It's not for us to have a couple of lives and say, expose, this is what's going on. No, we want answers. We want this fixed.
Yeah.
We want those people to be safe and healthy, and we're not going to stop until we get that.
Because you're right. If they do that in Greenwood, they're gonna try to do that crap in Midland, and we're not playing those games. I mean, that is Midland. You know what I'm saying? This is all West Texas. We got our eyes on it, y'all. Thank y'all for watching the live. Check out the videos we dropped, man. We got some great videos and interviews. Check them out on the YouTube channel. Check them out on my Facebook page. God bless y'all. Marcy, thank you. Chrissy, thank y'all. Christ
Thank
is Lord.
y'all so
Christ
much.
is Lord. Yes, ma'am. And thank everybody out there. May God bless you in the name of Jesus. And with that, everybody,
Amen.
we're out of here. Later.